Okay, we're going to do part 3 in our series of loom knitting with cotton yarn. Part 3 is going to cover the lock stitch. It's a thick finished product. When you use the cotton yarn, remember this is what you get with your basic E-wrap stocking net stitch. This is a really nice, thick, very soft, very flexible, very dense stitch. You can see a comparison in the back. This is the lock stitch. This was the chainmail stitch we did in part 2. This is the back of your stocking net stitch right here, so you can see the difference. It's also a little bit wider. You can see how the difference in the width of your finished product. This is going to be a 3-step process to make the lock stitch. If you were with us in part 2 on how to make the chainmail stitch, this is just one additional row of the purl over. I'm going to show you how to do the purl over, and then we'll show you how to do this lock stitch. So let's get started. I'm just continuing on from part 2. We're using the same yarn. This is the same exact yarn as the sample. It's just a different color. So we're going to start. Whoa, sorry about that. Let's try it again. Hey, there we go. We're going to start with, we're going to do 2 rows of purl over and 1 row of purl. So if you weren't with us in our last, in part 2, I'm going to show you how to do the purl over again. And it's very simple. You're going to wrap your yarn, you're going to go up from the bottom with your hook, pull your yarn down, and purl over the top of your peg. Up and down, purl over the top of your peg. That is what I call a purl over. I haven't seen it anywhere else. If somebody else knows of it and it's called something else, please let me know, but that's what I'm calling it. So we're going to go up, down, purl over. You don't want to tighten it. You don't want any gaps in here, but you don't want it really tight. So you're going to go up, down, and purl. Okay, sorry about that brief interruption. So again, we're going to go up, down. Make sure your yarn is, your working yarn is going in the direction you're heading. Purl over. At the end, you're going to E-wrap it and yarn over. Now we're going to do another row of the purl over. Now you notice when you do a purl over, you're not moving your project at all. It's just going over the yarn. You're not actually knitting yet. With this purl over, unlike a knit, you can't keep going and going and going and get product coming out. A purl over just sits here. So you can't, if you want to experiment with the purl over, you can't really just do a purl over and a purl over. You have to combine it with other stitches. But we are going to do 2 rows of purl over, and I'm going to show you going back this way now, working right to left, what it's going to look like. Again, your working yarn is in the direction you're going. You're going to go up, down, yarn over. Again, you don't want gaps, but you don't want it tight. Up, down, yarn over. Up, down. I find that if I grab it with the hook, I get a nice wrap. Yarn over. Up, down, grab it with the hook and kind of bring it around back, you get a nice wrap. Up, down, yarn over, and then E-wrap and knit. Now we're going to do a row of purl. And the difference is you're going to go, instead of up, down, you're going to go down, up, and go over with this yarn. Again, you're going to go down, up, and over with that yarn. So we're going to go down, up, and over. This is your basic purl with a loom knitter. Down, up, and over, down, up, and over, And then we're going to E-wrap and yarn over. So that was 2 rows of purl over and 1 row of purl. Now we're going to do 2 rows of purl over again. So we're going to go up, down, over, 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 E-wrap, yarn over. We're going to go back this way with our purl over. So we're going to go up, down, yarn over, up, down, yarn over, up, down, over, up, down, over, up, down, over, E-wrap, yarn over. So those are our 2 rows of purl over. Now we're going to do 1 row of purl, which is down, up, and over. Down, up, and over. Down, up, and over. Down, up, over. Down, up, over. E-wrap, yarn over. That's all it is. 2 rows of purl over, 1 row of purl, 2 rows of purl over, 1 row of purl. And what you can see right here, here's 1 row of purl over, 1 row of purl over, 1 purl. Purl over, purl over, purl. Purl over, purl over, purl. Purl over, purl over, purl. That's all it takes to make this lock stitch, and it's nice and thick. Again, you can see how dense it is on the back. So I would give this one a try too if you live in maybe a colder climate and you want a nice, thick, warm blanket. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check us out when we do part 3, which is the border stitch.